Rejects, Three from Hell, Lords of Salem, the Halloween film, 71, one of my favorite films from last year, The Munsters, and of course the year is this, 20 years ago, House of a Thousand Corpses. Say hello to Rob Zombie and Sherry Moon Zombie. Hello. Thanks for coming out 20 years late. So you had done music videos, you did film-based music video, like Faster Pussycat themed, or like Caligari with Living Dead Girl. But this was your first film, and there's major first film energy that's unrepeatable. So can you talk a little bit about embarking on this after a music video career?
Well, it was kind of, when I think back on making this movie, it's just, I can't remember it very well, for one. Like, people, how did it happen? And I don't really remember that good. Like, it seems like every little thing would be so, it's such a big moment, but I don't know, I don't remember
Which
it
is so
very
weird,
well.
because usually I'm the one that doesn't remember it. You remember everything.
That's true. But it all kind of happened in a weird way. It's never been as easy again to make a movie as it was to make this movie. Because I had lunch with this guy, his name is Guy Osseri, he manages Madonna and U2, and he's like, oh, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to make a movie. He's like, I'm going to set you up a meeting with this guy at Universal. I go to like one meeting, he's like, what's your idea? Of which I didn't have an idea at the time. So I quickly gave the world's worst pitch for this movie. He's like, okay. And then we were like making this movie. And it was like, oh, is it really that easy? And it's not. And it never would be again. And ever, unfortunately. But yeah, suddenly we were like on the Universal lot making this fucking crazy movie, and it was all good. And then they saw the movie, and it was not all good. It was all bad at that point.
But you tried so many things in this that it was amazing. You did like a De Palma split screens, and there's like cuts to like footage. They did a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the first movie, well, there's a lot of reasons for that. I had a real paranoia of it just being boring and just wanting people, so I was always trying to throw some new thing in there. And also, when we got kicked out of Universal and shut down, the movie wasn't really finished. So I kept filming stuff for the next couple of years on my own. Like, there's many scenes in this movie that were filmed in our house. And I was friends with everybody, so the actors would all come back. I had stolen all the wardrobe because I had backed the truck up to the Edith. I went to Universal because my pass was still good. I backed the truck up to the Edith Head building. We went and loaded like 25 boxes of all the wardrobe. So I had everything and all the props. So we would rebuild the same sets.
In our basement.
In our basement. At a Wayne Todd's effect shop we built. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Jerry, what was your thoughts going into this for the first time?
They're gonna let me be in a movie? Seriously, that's what I thought. I just didn't think that's how it happened. It was just something fun we worked on together, and we were really hands-on with everything, and I just sort of went along with it. It wasn't an intention of mine or a goal of mine, but it just sort of happened organically with just us two weirdos doing stuff in the house, and then all of a sudden we're allowed on the Universal lot.
Yeah, and everything, the way it came together, all the people, like, I had met Bill Moseley earlier in the year. I didn't know him before that, and then I realized, oh, he lives right down the street. I'm like, yeah, put him in the movie too.
Yeah.
And then I knew Chris Hardwick, and I was like, oh, put Chris Hardwick in the movie. Then I'm like, what if Chris Hardwick can act? He could, but I didn't actually know that at the time. And it was just, like, the process, the brain function was none making this songs. Now, but I mean, I was just like, hey, whatever, winging it, and then somehow it would work. But now I don't act like that at all. But on your first movie, you don't realize this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It may never come again, and this, that, It's actually, I'm glad I didn't think that way. It probably freaked me out.
And it's your first film, and there's Sid Haig and there's Karen Black, which are just monuments. They're so amazing. Can you talk about how you cast them and just their presence?
I always wanted to. I didn't know Sid at the time, obviously. And I always liked him in things, and I always pictured him as that part. I never had anyone else in mind. And except when I did want Frank Gorshin to play Grandpa, and he came to audition, and we almost got into a fight about him wanting to play Captain Spaulding. And I was like, it's cast, move on. And he was adamant, and he was really kind of like mean about it. And I remember Bill Moseley was with me at the time, and when Frank Gorshin left, Bill was like, geez, what a dick. So we didn't do something. But,
And Karen Black.
and Karen, I mean, just to finish, Sid had retired from acting. He was like working out in Simi Valley as like a janitor in his building, and we had to find him. And Karen Black, I don't know how she came up. I mean, obviously we loved Karen Black. Maybe the casting agent threw her name out, and as soon as I heard it, I was like, perfect, because I was struggling to cast that role.
There's always feels like it's misfits that are in here, or like someone who's in Petticoat Junction a couple episodes or something, and you compile this amazing casting of misfits that make this amazing film. Where do they come from?
I would say that is very true. Would you say
In
that?
all of your films.
Yes, that is true. I do remember even when the casting process, whenever I would, do general casting session to cast somebody, and I found like Rainn Wilson, Universal was like, we don't think so. we don't see it. And then like same with Walton Goggins, like we don't see it. Like it was always very funny how well now they see it, they didn't see it. I would just go for people that I thought were quirky. And actually, like, say someone like Walton Goggins, his headshot was really kind of dashing. And I was like, he's like this handsome guy. But he came in, he was not handsome, but he's quirkier than that. And I was like, oh, he's great. His accent and everything, he's an odd spin to it.
And can we talk a little bit, this is the 18th year, I think, this year, that we start the year with Marx Brothers, New Year's Eve start the year. We can talk a little bit how the Marx Brothers and all the names came about?
You could probably answer this as good as me, because I almost don't remember.
Well, there's Captain Spaulding, Baby. What else is a Marx Brother?
Everything, even the ones that like the Professor, all of them are, but I think
The
I was
Professor?
yeah.
Just the Professor?
Yeah, that's like a powerful character.
Oh.
But
I don't know.
I can't remember anymore. I was just always obsessed with the Marx Brothers ever since I was little. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea. I gotta be honest, I don't know very definitely.
But there is something timeless, even in the references to this, when you watch one of your friends, you're like, wait, what years? Because there's a little bit of 50s, a little bit of 60s, a little bit of 70s in it, and Baby's like favorite actress, Betty Davis, like, you know what I mean? So, can you talk a little bit about doing something this violent, horror, but there's always like a timeless, almost Americana to it underneath? Do you know what I'm talking about, or is that?
I should sneak up an answer. Well, I mean, I like, my love of films stopped somewhere in the 70s, and or at least the way I see it. And when I made this movie, that's what I wanted to feel like, those films. But of course, there's clips from like Old Dark House and things which we love. It's just to be funny here. I have not watched this movie with sound in 20 years, and neither Sherry hasn't watched it any which way in 20 years. And we're up there watching it, and she's like, "That's how it ends." She's like, "Wait, Captain Spaulding drives up."
Yeah, I didn't remember that. I didn't remember Bill peeking out of the car. I knew Aaron crawled out from the straw hole, but I didn't remember. I didn't. Sorry.
When we walked in, we were like, "Oh, it's the pussy licker scene." And you're like, "Nope." Walked out of the room.
I did that. Oh my god.
What do you remember?
That was the first scene I shot ever in my life, going up to Goober, whatever I sat in. But that was the first thing I remember before. I'm like, oh, my ass is showing. I'm like asking Danielle Lovett, one of the producers. I'm like, oh god. It was nuts. It was nuts. And then just to go do that. And then I remember the first take I tried in some different way. And I was like, no, that's not going to work. And then did it the way I did it. And that's the way it is.
about Sid and Ken? How were they to do scenes with?
Amazing. Well, Karen and I had a special relationship. Before we started filming, we had a few mess around rehearsals, but Karen and I talked on the phone all the time. Maybe after a few glasses of wine, maybe not, I don't know. But we talked about everything, and we really got this bond happening, and I loved her, and she was so amazing. And what for me, an amazing. It was so cool to have Karen Black as my mentor in my first film. She was so generous, and I love her and I miss her. Yeah, she's great. And Sid.
Well, you didn't work with Sid.
I did not work with
Sid
Sid
actually.
on this movie.
You don't have any scenes, so yeah.
Yeah.
Although, what did happen with this movie that was kind of funny because this doesn't happen in every movie, and even with the people, these actors said the same thing. There was just a weird bond that stuck with everybody. So every time we'd have a barbecue or any kind of party, the entire cast was at our house for years and years. If we go through our wedding album, it's everybody.
Jen Jostin, Chris Hardwick,
Sid and Walton,
yeah.
Bill, and it just became some other weird thing, just because everybody wanted it to work so much, and when we get dumped by Universal, literally thrown out of Universal, it's kind of boring.
And what was that moment like before Lionsgate at Universal? What was happening at that point?
Well, nothing.
We were going to come out, that's what was happening.
Well, no, we took the film everywhere. Well, I had kind of a plan, but again, being naive, this was a terrible plan. Because after Universal screened the movie, and it was a screen like this big screening, and the audience loved it, but the big thing that I think got booted was the scene where Mosley shoots, Goggins. The audience cheered. And the head of Universal was like, they're cheering in the wrong places. We are not releasing this film. They're not supposed to be cheering for the bad guys. They were really upset by the fact that the bad guys are cool and no one cared about the good guys. So the next day they just dumped it. It was done. Come to my office, we're not putting this out, done. And then, they wanted to get all their money back and some. So they were asking this ridiculous price for anyone to buy the movie. Every studio said no. So we kept shopping it year after year. And everybody who knew about it was like, oh, those guys fucked that up. There's nothing people love more than thinking they failed at something, So everybody was very excited, they fucked it up. But what happened was eventually, the price that Universal wanted for the movie kept dropping so low. I was like, I would say that it's worthless. Nobody wants it. And they dropped the price so low, I bought it. And then I sold it to Lionsgate. For a nice profit. But Lionsgate had also turned down the movie at some point. But I don't know. 3 years later, they were like, great. And they put it out, it was all good. And that's why I find it 20 years later to see it on this big screen in 35 millimeters is kind of mind blowing. I haven't seen it since 20 years ago when we premiered at ArcLight, and that was a theater experience.
So 20 years of making films together. How did your working relationship all change through the years, or do you have a crazy shorthand by now and know what each other want?
Do you think it's embarrassed at all? What do you think about that?
Do we have a shorthand? 1, 2, I don't know.
I would say it's more of a longhand in the sense that Sherry has to suffer through every phase of the movie with me.
Yeah.
Because I'm writing it, and she reads it, and I change it, she's like, I'm not gonna read it anymore until you're done changing it.
Well, because I memorize it every
Yeah, and
day.
then I'm like, oh, that's not in the script anymore. And then she has to suffer through me bitching that I hate everyone at the studio and they're all fucking assholes and this day after day for
And then I have to be
years.
nice to them when I see them, so it's
Because they don't know that she knows everything that I know.
everything.
And I hate them.
Oh my God, they're such assholes.
They got the worst thing, and it's worse.
No, there's some nice people. Like,
They're nice
Lionsgate,
people, but
like,
yeah, Lionsgate was cool. I don't want them to get compliments. They're very cool. I mean, anyway, her having to deal with me is a drag. Because it's a long, drawn-out process. Like, the Monsters was 5 years of hell to get it made. You know, like everyone else can roll in, put their cape on, and go, hey, but she's getting here 5 years and be complaining.
And then you show up and you give an incredible performance in the Monsters, which I just love.
Oh, thank you.
So in that, is the set? What's the vibe? Because it feels like a carnival. You said like you're watching this group of misfits that must be friends and they're putting on a show. What is the set like?
Well, that's kind of more like what it's like now. On this movie, it wasn't, because everybody was just getting to know each other. You know, like, there was no, I had a little bit of rehearsal time with Sid and Michael J. Pollard, a little bit of that.
Yes, but Rain, Chris,
Oh, yeah, that's
Jen,
funny.
and Aaron would come over to the house and we would all rehearse.
Yeah.
And then Rain would jump in the pool with his underwear on.
We take all his clothes off,
And-
except his tiny whities, and
Yeah.
jump in our pool.
Yes, I'm
It's inappropriate at the time.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah, so
It
that
worked
was
for the
like
character.
our bonding, you know.
Yeah, that's right, I forgot about
Yeah.
that. All right, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I forgot about it.
Yeah.
All I remember is trying to rehearse with Michael J. Pollard and kept going, hey, Ron, I want to get out of here. It's the Kentucky Derby today. It's the Kentucky Derby. Does anyone have any weed? Oh, yeah. Well, yes, first time he shows up as
That was me, not Michael.
yeah, well, no, that was Michael too. He's asking for weed, but he shows up, this was the first, this might have been my first night shooting, he goes, hey Rob, I'm working on 2 movies. He's talking to us, he's like, and I got 2, I'm not sure which one this is. And he wasn't trying to be funny at all. Every movie we got at least one guy that have to go to the other end. Okay, so-and-so is clearly cuckoo. You're gonna have to rein them in somehow, get them to their mark.
Are you obsessed with Bonnie and Clyde? Maybe because of Michael J. Pollard and then the end of Devil's Rejects?
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
I was, very much so.
Yeah.
I must have seen it about 1,000,000 times.
Makes sense.
No, I love that movie.
Yeah. It's a great movie. I'm gonna go out to the crowd here. I'm sure there's a ton right over there with the hands up.
What advice would you give to musicians that want to become filmmakers later on in their career?
Don't do it.
I've not been in a room in a long time.
You actually have a house.
Can you tell that right there?
So, I was wondering, first of all, you were aging beautifully.
Yesterday, you would not be saying that.
So, does Spalding have his chicken recipe? Like, does he really cook chicken?
He definitely ate it. Yeah, you know, he ate a lot of chicken one day, that's for sure. Because again, even the beginning of the movie, when the commercial, we filmed that like in our art director's apartment. And Erwin Keys was long gone, and that was just my chubby assistant wearing the mask that night. Like it was like a show. It was like Little Rascals desperately trying to put on a show that nobody wants to see.
And Sinek seems to have no inhibitions in life. Like he just seems like Sinek. You can't. He just seems out there. What was that energy?
That was everybody. I mean, no inhibitions was Karen Black, above all.
Yeah.
I remember one time we were standing out in front of the house. The house was tinted, so it looked like it was nighttime. We were standing outside, and she had on a super short skirt. She goes, I don't have any underwear on.
She wore nylons.
Yeah. My thanks, Karen.
I don't know if that's
I don't know if that made it better. But she's not in this movie, but Priscilla Barnes wins the No Inhibitions Award. Yeah, and I don't even know if I should say what she got. My first conversation was out there. And 2 years from now, when it's the 20th anniversary.
What do we got? Right there.
What do you guys?
Here? You go, yeah. Well, first of all, Rob, Sherry, nice to meet you, big fan. I wanted to ask, you kind of touched on the 70s a little bit, but I wanted to ask what your inspiration was behind the story, if you remember. Like, was it Texas Chainsaw, that being a 70s set movie? Was it Tobe, or like, what kind of brought you to this kind of story?
I mean, I really like 70s redneck movies. You know, like, I really always loved that type of stuff. It would be, Chainsaw's obvious, but even some of the White Lightning, it didn't matter, you know, Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, any 70s redneck thing, I'm in, you know, and that had a lot to do with that. And a lot of the characters, I mean, Otis was modeled after someone I knew. Because when I was a kid, and it's no joke, it sounds like I'm making this stuff up, there was this albino kid in my school. And he had like wrinkly, his eyelids were wrinkly, and he looked like Gollum. And he had slightly white hair. And I thought, wow, this guy's really weird. We were like in 5th grade. But then his brother, who was in high school, came to pick him up, looked exactly like Otis. And I never forgot this guy. The whole family was these weird Johnny Winter looking albino. And they all had the same red fucking teeth, and all of them, for some reason, their eyelids were super wrinkly. They're all kind of balding, even though they're still in high school. You know. So that was based on a real guy. And this is no joke either. The speech, I don't remember it anymore, but the speech when Otis is yelling at the tied-up cheerleader, this is totally serious. And for 4 straight years, from 5th grade to 8th grade, our gym coach would yell that at us every year. Because that was like when it was always like an X movie.
What was he yelling at?
He would go, I don't want anyone in here wearing goddamn socks with fucking Mickey Mouse. And little 5th grade's like, what's wrong with this guy? And he was like screaming that whole speech at us. I mean, that's as much as I can, the piece that I remember from being a terrorized 5th grade, but that was all reality. I was a fucking mental patient. You know, the guy who would make like the really fat kid try to do pull-ups. And like, come on, man. He's hanging there dying. He's not going to do the pull-ups. He's not winning the presidential physical fitness award. Let it go.
Yes. You.
Biggest fan from Mexico here. We came all the way from Mexico to be here. It's such an honor.
I thought Laurel Candy was a drag.
I just want to thank you for always giving us something to look forward to. And my question, Brendan Fraser recently won the Oscar, and he gave an interview of working with you in Airheads. Any cool memories with Brendan?
Oh, he did? Oh, that's cool. Yeah, Airheads was really cool because, again, I don't remember that much. We weren't there that long. And we just did that one little concert scene, and everybody in the movie was kind of like, I didn't know who Brendan Fraser was at the time. I barely knew who, like, Adam Sandler was, or Chris Farley. I mean, everybody was like right on the edge of like superstardom. I think we're most excited about Steve Buscemi because of I just remember not understanding movies and playing the concert scene too hard, and I immediately smacked myself in the face with the microphone. I was bleeding through the whole scene. Miserable. And then I remember you were standing on stage. Because the director, Michael Lehman, made you, it was, oh, if I were an extra or something, he made you stand up on stage.
I remember that.
I remember.
But
Those
what was
guys-
it? Was the premiere at the Viper? Or what was the Viper meeting?
Oh yeah, we had a premiere party for Airheads at the Viper Room. And by the time he was playing, Chris Farley was introducing us.
Right.
And he was so wasted. He just kept throwing glasses of water in his face the whole thing. We have pictures of Adam Sandler, Chris Farley, and Tom Arnold for some reason. Hollywood. And everybody was insane, but those guys are all awesome. Yeah, those guys are super. And I see pictures of myself other places with Brendan Fraser. I'm like, where are we? I seriously don't know where we are, which is kind of weird. But no, those guys are all super cool, super nice.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, so looking back on the film 20 years later, is there something that you see like, man, I wish I would have done that differently, or you're surprised at how well it turned out?
Well, it turned out better than I remember. I remember like thinking, what a disaster, and that's why we haven't watched it for 20 years. But then I watched it like, oh, that looks, I might remember it differently. I think there's just there's stuff I would do differently for sure, but it might not make the movie better. I mean, the choices that I made was sort of like, you know, because sometimes you do good stuff and you don't know any better. Like, I don't know, it's weird. Like, a good example of that is like, some kind of weird example, like the Ramones. Like, they didn't know how to write songs. That's why they're so good. Verse, chorus, verse. You know, they try to write Ramones and the structures doesn't make any sense, but they're awesome. But if they really was like, why don't you come in and show you how to write songs? You're like, snooze. Yeah, so sometimes you do cool stuff just because you're too stupid to know that it's a bad idea. Like,
I don't.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
I don't like to watch it because I will just be filled with constant regret over every move I make. So you do it and then it's there and edit
yeah,
it.
even now, you saw 1 second of yourself like, I'm out. And you walked out of the room.
I don't want to judge myself.
How judge you? Yourself. I think I might have held on some shots longer, and I wouldn't have done so many tricks, probably, but for some reason at the time, I thought I needed it. I don't know. I would have to watch it again, because even I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I find it hard to believe you do less tricks. In that mind, there's no tricks.
I don't know, maybe it would be exactly the same.
Right there.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to see your panel at Comic-Con way back when you first released it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and you had
Did I
to
say the same shit?
No, you said how you were like taking stuff from Universal. That was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But
Stealing is big.
it's my friend Scott's 50th birthday. We're here celebrating, watching the 20th. It's awesome. So just recently, Eli Roth is doing Thanksgiving. Any chance we get Werewolf Women of the SS?
Strangely, I don't think the world would love that movie. I thought it was weird even at the time, but I was like, well, say la vie. I was like, either I'm gonna make a Nazi exploitation film at the time or a women in prison film, and I went for the Nazi film because I wanted to pick like what were probably the most degenerate of those genres back then. And I think the Nazi film always wins, but I don't think that. I think it would be impossible to get a studio actually back to the movie. But although we were talking about doing it, it was a thing for real. And then when Grindhouse didn't pan out so much, they just canceled everything. Except for Machete, because then probably just took that into his own. But I didn't have the luxury of owning it to do that. But I did want to do it, and Mel McDowell played Hitler. That was my idea.
Yeah, Nick Cage just flew
Right
at you.
there.
Right.
Rob,
Yes.
big fan. Is there an edited, a cut that has anything that was edited? Does it exist?
Maybe. I don't know where it is. I was surprised I found this cut.
I figured maybe they, you had to cut it for the censors,
Well, there was a lot, there's other stuff that's just lost, because with it being bumped from Universal to MGM for 3 seconds to Lionsgate, nobody knows where anything is. I mean, I swear to God, nobody takes care of stuff anymore. Nobody knows where it is. The only reason there's anything is because I took so much stuff myself. Like, I have all the set photography, I have everything. If not for that, there would be nothing. And yeah, and all the stuff that's, yeah, all the stuff.
We have time for one more right there.
Hi Rob, big fan, love you. It's not really a question, but when the Axis played the Viper Room, I saw you come in, you came in that night. The opening band was called Nosferatu, and my daughter was with me, my 26-year-old daughter, and I've told the story lots of times. And I asked if I could take a picture with one of the guys in the band at the time. And he said, as soon as we get our equipment in and out, I'll take a picture with you. Well, I set my phone up to take the picture.
Right, this is
and
my
I had the
question.
flash on when you came in. I saw the guy, the vampire out there taking a selfie with you and with John Clyde. And when you came in,
Is there a
I had my
question?
flash, and I took a picture of you, and I took a picture. It's all like a white face, and then you went to the back, and I took a picture of you you know, because I just, you know.
I don't think I was scowling at you, I think that's just my face. And I'm pretty sure I didn't notice it. That's just the look I tend to have most of the time.
Interesting question. So I love the Monsters. I think it's fantastic.
We're gonna show it right now. So
I would love to do that sometimes because I think it's a fantastic film, and I'm curious, what do you have guys have any projects lined up in the future right now that you could talk about?
No, I'm just focusing on music at the moment. I got some work coming up. But I would say somewhere in here is two important people to most of these movies. You know, Jeff Daniel Phillips, who played Herman, and Chris Harris, who composed all the music for the Monsters and Dreams of Life. I think they were all back there.
Well, thank you for coming out. Great luck on the tours. Amazing films. Films today. Will you all please remain seated?